Good morning everyone and welcome to Sunday's PhD vlog. Today is the 15th of March and you have me again today. I'm coming to you from my desk at home. Right now what I am doing is I'm kind of midway through doing a reverse outline. Hat tip to Aileen, who created a blog post about doing this just the other day, which I will link to in the info bar below. So I'm experimenting with doing that, and hopefully that will give me a sense of how the section is looking structurally in a kind of very blow by blow manner. So what the paragraphs are looking like, how the argument is flowing, and what paragraphs need rewriting, what paragraphs are missing, things like that. Good afternoon everyone. So it is now 20 past 1. I've been at my desk since a bit before 10 o'clock this morning, so I've done about just over 3.5 hours worth of work so far. Exciting Sunday. I've now finished my reverse outline, which I think was a really useful exercise, and I feel like I have a bit more of a sense of what I need to change and what I need to rewrite. Anyway, I said today's vlog was going to be a bit of a question and answer session, and so before I have a lunch break, I've got Ben back here with me, who is going to ask some questions that he has been assembling since I started doing this vlog. And this afternoon I'll come back and I'll answer some of the questions that I've received on social media. So,
question 1.
I haven't heard these before, by the way, just so you know.
Question 1. When did you begin to think about doing a PhD?
Oh, this touches on Stewart's question, which I was going to address this afternoon. So maybe obviously I will do that now. I started to think about doing a PhD when I was doing my undergraduate degree.
Was there like a particular time or actual event which you then went, yeah, I definitely want to do a PhD, or do you think it was just sort of gradual?
I think it was gradual. But there was a time when my performance studies department was saying to me that I should be applying to do a PhD in Australia in performance studies, and I ended up not doing that. And so there's a time when I decided against it, but that wasn't because I didn't want to do a PhD, that was because I didn't feel like I was ready. In Australia, you don't have to do a master's to do a PhD, and I was a bit concerned about going straight into a PhD program and whether I would be able to get a job at the end of it. It was a matter of finding myself as well before kind of going straight into an academic career. If I had gone straight through to do a PhD in performance studies, I would have been a doctor by the time I was 25, which would have been great for my ego. But I would never have lived anywhere except for Sydney, and not that there's anything wrong with not living anywhere except for Sydney. But I just felt that it was kind of funneling me too directly into a life, and I should experience some other things. So that's why I came to England to do a master's, and then decided I definitely wanted to do a PhD, and went on and did it.
Cool.
Yeah.
When you study in a library,
yes,
do you have a favourite seat?
Oh yeah.
And why is it your favourite seat?
Why? Oh, that's a tough one. Okay, so in the ICS,
and someone should steal her seat.
No! I'll kill you in your sleep! In the Institute of Classical... no, I'm joking. In the Institute of Classical Studies, I have a favourite seat, and it's my favourite seat because it's in a smaller room, so there's only 5 seats, so it doesn't tend to get too noisy. It's in the second literature room, so it's around the area that I need resources from. It's quiet, and the particular desk that I like is next to a window. You get the afternoon sun. So when you're at your desk and it's 3:30 or 4 and you're really struggling, and then you get bathed in a gentle wash of sunlight, it's a really nice pick-me-up. And it's also next to a heater, so when it's winter you can kind of like cling to the wall and get the warmth. In the British Library, my favourite seat has ended up being my favourite seat. I liked it at first because I could remember the seat number very easily, but now I just like the seat. And
the seat number is?
I'm not telling because someone will steal my seat.
I think it begins with 2. Okay, this is a weird question. Where has your PhD taken you, as in, what places have you visited as a result of doing your PhD?
Okay, so in January I spoke at a conference in New Orleans, in Louisiana, so that was pretty cool. Next month I'm going to Geneva. I went to Germany to see a production that's a case study in my thesis. So I went to Hamburg to the Schauspielhaus. I've been to lots of places in England, so I've spoken at conferences in Oxford, Cambridge, Birmingham, Nottingham. I'm speaking at Bristol next month. I think that's probably it. I've had some good opportunities to see various places during my PhD. It's one of the perks.
Okay, going back to library environments, what are 2 or 3 pet hates of the people when they work around you?
My pet hates about people around me?
Yeah, not about the people around you, but like things they might do. What annoys you when you're trying to work in somebody else's phone?
My number one irritation is people who put their phones on silent but leave it on vibrate and then get lots and lots of text messages. So I understand, like, I appreciate that it's not on noisy, but if you're hearing that zzz of the phone against the desk, like, turn the vibrating function off. Just, you know, silence, please. That's probably my number one irritation. I don't really have that many other irritations.
What are 2 things that you couldn't live without while doing your PhD?
Oh, you and Marcel.
Oh, that wasn't intentional. And my last question, do you have or have you had weird dreams regarding your PhD? And what were they?
I had a dream that
I had a dream.
I had a dream that I was meeting a friend, my friend Zach, and he had offered to read some of my thesis and he was going to give me feedback on my thesis. And then I met him and he hadn't read it. And then I had an appointment with Matt Damon, who was also going to give me feedback on my thesis, and he had read it. But I don't remember what the feedback was that he gave me, unfortunately.
What's your best way to de-stress if you do feel stressed?
This is someone, whose question was this about managing stress and anxiety? Devan. This is Devan's question.
Oh, sorry.
I should just do all of these questions now. I have a few strategies. So you've probably seen me stressed in a couple of the videos. Taking time off is one way. So having an afternoon and just, you know, watching a movie or something, reading a book, going for a walk in the park or whatever. Changing the research environment, so you'll have seen the days when I'm really struggling, the next day I'll go and work in a different space because I think that that can really help my mental state. Bribery, so if I'm stressed or anxious, sometimes like giving myself an incentive to like just get through that horrible period works. So I'll say, if I can finish this task, I can buy a chocolate bar or something like that. Maybe something more exciting, you know, maybe I'll buy a t-shirt or something. What else? I mean, certainly chocolate and coffee help.
Okay, that's all I have for now.
Alright, speak to you later. Good afternoon, everyone. It is now about 3:30 and I am just about to go and head out for a cup of coffee. But before I go out, I thought I would check in and tell you where I'm at. So, after following Ellie's blog post, I did a reverse outline this morning of my chapter, and after lunch I then wrote a new outline of my chapter in a different coloured pen, so I know which one's which, and I then used a third coloured pen to write in the paragraphs which are missing from my current chapter that I think need to go in. So this is just for that 8,000 to the birdie section. I have decided, judging from what I need to do, that I'm not going to send this chapter into my supervisor this evening. I'm not too upset about not getting it done by today. I think I mentioned earlier, originally I said I'd like 3 weeks to do this, and my supervisor said try for 2 weeks. So finishing it, if I send it by Tuesday night, I'm still, you know, 5 days early from what I initially thought was realistic for me to accomplish. So anything I think ahead of the 3-week period is an achievement and something to be proud of. So yeah, I'm not going to get upset for not having it done today. Anyway, I thought I would take this opportunity to answer those other questions that I didn't answer in my earlier video with Ben. Ailiki asked me about time management and how I manage my time. Now, I have the most complicated system in the world, possibly. So, I have trouble seeing time or thinking about time conceptually when I'm planning my the way I'm going to study. So I have 3 different types of diaries because I really need to see everything laid out visually. It's just a quirk with how my brain works. Okay, so first up, I have my diary, which has a sticker from the Charbonnet Theatre in Berlin. There's no need to be scared. Good advice. Anyway, this is a day to a page diary, like so. And that allows me to break down hour by hour what I'm doing in any one day. Then I use the iCalendar on my computer, and that's good because it's on my phone as well, and that allows me to see things on the go. Then what I have is this, which some people probably will think, what am I on about with this? This is a hand-drawn calendar, and I do these for every month. I know you can buy them, but I quite like to write them out by hand. I find it almost therapeutic. And I like to have this because it allows me to get like a broader sense of what's coming up, especially in terms of conferences. So here's the next kind of page. I've got a Mutton Crimp conference here and the Classical Association conference here. So my day to a page diary, it can be a bit hard to get a general sense of when busy periods and quiet periods are coming up. So I have this to give me a broader sense of how I need to organise my time in the long run. I also had a question from Devan about applying for a PhD and writing research proposals. My primary advice for this is to speak to the people who make the decisions. So get advice from departmental staff who will be involved in the decision-making process or have been previously involved in the decision-making process. It's always well and good to get your peers to read your proposal and things like that, but you really want to be speaking to someone who knows exactly what the department or the university has looked for in previous years and can advise you concretely about what you should be going for this time around. Some of the advice that I was given when I was applying for a PhD was to concentrate on things like exactly why that institution is the very best place for you to be undertaking your research, exactly why your research needs to be completed now and why you are the person to do it. Aileen asked me very, very early on about how I stay sane and overcome snags in my research. Hopefully the kind of way that I have dealt with those bad research days has demonstrated that, but also I did touch upon that a little bit with the previous interview section with Ben when I talked about bribing myself and things like that. Oh, and the final one that I had, which is possibly the most important one, I had a message from Clara about what is post-traumatic theatre. I did answer this on Twitter, but I thought it's something I should address in the videos as well because some other people out there might not know what it is. So this is the seminal work by Hans Theis Lehmann, which it's not a huge book, but it is a very deep and complex book. And this is what you need to read if you want to know all about post-traumatic theatre. But essentially, post-dramatic theatre doesn't mean theatre with no dramatic tension. What it means is a theatre after the idea of drama. So it tends to be, I often define it as a theatre which makes meaning primarily through image, sound and affect rather than through narrative and character. So it's moving away from kind of a teleological structure and moving towards something which is more experimental, more fractured, sometimes disorientating. It's characterized by a retreat from synthesis. So instead of everything coming together in a kind of unified manner, something that we might associate with Aristotle's Poetics, we're moving towards something which is more disparate. So that is what post-dramatic theatre is, and I'm happy to answer any other questions that you might have. So let me know in the comments below or on Twitter if there's something else you want me to address. Good evening everyone. It is now about 5:30 and I thought I would check in because I've decided to call it quits today here. I hope that you have enjoyed the vlogs this weekend. I've now been going for 2 weeks, unbelievably. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel and then you'll be notified when I put new videos up. See you tomorrow. Bye.